Hey everyone, my name is Luke Parmeter and I'm a videographer slash editor. Today I'm starting a really unique project. I'm in charge of editing the 2020 Monster Energy Supercross season preview show, which is going to air on NBCSN in about 5 weeks. I'm usually on the other side of the camera, but I've always wanted to document a project like this from start to finish, whether it's the editing, the filming, or just getting away from it all to kind of keep my mind fresh. It's a ton of hours and a ton of work, but once it's complete, it's always a really cool feeling. So just wanted to share this journey with you. So if you have any questions, comment below. Let's get started. So I've been doing video production for about 10 years now. I started in the action sports world and now I've kind of morphed more into documentary storytelling. I grew up racing dirt bikes, so Supercross is something I've always been into, and being able to tell these riders' stories, trying to grow the sport is something I'm super passionate about. In my opinion, these athletes are the best in the world, and so anytime you get to work on a project like this, it's really cool, and I'm super fortunate to do this. So this is going to be an hour-long show on NBCSN with 6 segments and 5 commercial breaks. So I'm headed down to Florida today to film segment 3 with Ken Roxon and Adam Cianciarulo. We're also going to be filming with Cooper Webb and Zach Osborne. So should be a good trip. I'm going to get packed up and hit the road. All right, it's Thursday morning, made it to Florida. I'm about to drive over to Ken Roxon's house, and then he's gonna give me a ride to the track. We'll meet up with Adam Cianciarulo, and should be a good day. All right, so here's a look at my cameras. We got the Phantom 4 Pro up top there. We've got the red Scarlet-W, and then this is the Sony a7 III. Travis and Cole, the other filmers, have their cameras here as well. But this is pretty much my squad right here. The red Scarlet-W is pretty much used for slow-mo and all the beauty shots. And then the Sony a7 III, it's kitted out with all the audio gear. It's pretty much my run and gun behind the scenes camera. So that's a wrap for the riding portion. Now we're gonna go set up the interviews. All right, so we're back at the hotel. First thing you wanna do, start downloading all the footage. I categorize it. I've got day 1, and then I just go by camera. Got batteries going, drone battery, a7 III, red batteries, reorganize, and get ready for another day. So one of my favorite parts about doing video production is when you actually get back to your hotel, your office, and you start going through footage, especially when you know you had a solid day of filming. Looking at this drone footage already, I'm liking it. And just super excited to go through the rest of it and see what everyone else got as well. So far so good. Time for a nice cold beverage tonight, some dinner, call it a day. Okay, so it's day 2 and we have a little bit of change of plans today. Unfortunately, it rained all night and the track is soaked, so there won't be any riding going on. We will be able to get our interviews, and we should actually have more time with the interviews. So it might actually work out better because we can kind of get more into detail on those stories we're trying to tell. Just gotta make the most of it and get what we can while we're here. So I'm back from Florida here in the office and I'm ready to start editing this segment. So normally what I'll start with is the interviews, because the interviews are gonna dictate the story. As much as I wanna start going through all the beauty footage and the slow-mo and the drone stuff, you really gotta start with the interviews and kind of get that laid in so you know where the story's gonna go. So here in the project file, I have it organized by day 1 and day 2, and then within each day, I have each camera. So we filmed the interviews on the A7 III, so I'm gonna start there and go to the very last clip because that was the last thing we filmed. So it's been a few more hours and I have Roxanne's intro started. I'm really liking how this is coming together. It's basically some scenics of Florida, talking us through what he's got going on for the day. Got his dog in there, fan favorite of course. So without giving this whole thing away, it's really coming together. So now that I have Roxanne's part started, it's well underway, I'm gonna move on to Cianciarulo's part. Cianciarulo's part is gonna have a lot more backstory. He's a rookie moving into the 450 class. So this is a bunch of footage I actually shot in 2014. So after we tell Adam's backstory, we're gonna go back to Florida and kind of show how he's preparing for 2020. We got some really cool footage of him and Roxanne. Pretty fun to film all that stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff to work with. So we're gonna have a riding segment with Cianciarulo and Roxanne. And basically we just gotta go through every single clip. Once I have the clips picked out, we're gonna add music and sound effects to it and just make a kick-ass segment here. So this riding segment really came together nicely. You know, they make my job pretty easy, just given how good they are, how fast they are, how much style they have. So it's just fun to film the best riders in the world and use drones and slow-mo cameras and all this stuff. Like I said, this is a really fun part of the whole project. So I probably look a little tired, but I would call this segment done for now. So I still have to do the final color grade, do the audio mix, add the voiceover and graphics. Kind of sounds like a lot, but we're in a good spot. Here's a look at the timeline. As you can see, it's a little more complicated than it was when we first started. So with that segment pretty much complete, I'm basically gonna repeat that whole process for the next 5 segments, starting with Eli Tomac. For him, we have a bunch of really good interviews that we're gonna mix in. I already have those picked out. He is such a mystery when it comes to Supercross, so everyone has an opinion, so I'm really excited to start his segment and get that going. So Eli Tomac's segment is finished. This is segment 2 of 6 in the show. After the first commercial break, this is what we'll play in the show. All right, so it's Sunday. We're at the end of another week. It's been pretty productive. Still a lot of work left to do, of course. I need to unwind though. I try not to work on Sundays if I don't need to, but gotta do what you gotta do. So luckily the Packers play today, and I'm gonna make some beer brats. Kind of a Wisconsin delicacy, so let's show you how we do this. Now there's a few different ways you can cook brats. I usually start with the onions, saute them up with a little garlic and butter. Then I'll take the brats, throw them in that same pot. Got the Johnsonville party pack. Then we're gonna throw a couple 2-3 brewskis in there. You can use any kind of brewski you want. A lot of people do IPAs or dark beers. I throw whatever's in the back of the fridge in there. Throw a little crushed red pepper in there as well. Then we'll let those boil about 10 to 12 minutes. That's a beautiful shot. We're gonna let this play out a little bit. So once these are fully cooked, we're gonna take them out to the grill, and all we're gonna do is just brown them up. So rotate them every couple minutes. This part isn't gonna take long, and that's pretty much the last step. A lot of people will take them back to that beer broth and serve them from there, and then you can take your onions, set them on top of the brat. If you got sauerkraut, throw it on there as well. I'll top mine off with some ketchup and mustard, and from there, it's time to dig in. Well, the Packer game did not go as planned, so that was a bit of a bummer, but still kind of good to get away from the computer for a little bit. Today I'm actually recording voiceover. Now our show will have a professional narrator, but we don't put that in the show until the very, very end. from an editing standpoint, I need to have a voiceover track in there as soon as I can to time it out, make sure it fits well and all that. So I basically am the narrator until that final one gets put in. Now, I used to get embarrassed because I'd record it and then I'd have to send it off in all these rough cuts, and you know, everybody hates hearing their own voice. So I don't really have time to get embarrassed about it anymore. Now, the funny thing about it is I try to be as professional sounding as I can, because I've heard other editors do this, and if they don't sound like they're trying, like, I don't even want to watch the rough cut. So I try to just give it my all. I probably sound way too cheesy, but let's take a listen here. In every athlete, there lies a belief that they could reach the very top, that they won't let their circumstances define them. So I do probably spend a little too much time on this, considering it will get cut. But I think in the long run, it does help because it kind of gets everyone on the same page as far as the vibe and the feel of the show. Yeah, I think that's great. So update on the show, I have about 30 minutes of it edited. I still have a few more segments to start. So I think when all is said and done, I'm gonna be over 45 minutes. Hopefully it's not too much longer than 45, but I have a feeling we'll have to start doing some cutting after that. Starting to feel the stress a little bit. Got a few more weeks to go, but man, there's a lot of work to do. Tomorrow I'm getting a bunch of footage sent from California, from the Supercross test tracks. So that'll be nice to get a new pile of footage to dig through. So yeah, all systems go. Keep plugging away and get this thing done. Yeah, it's a bummer. No, for sure. We'll make it work. Yeah. All right, well, thanks for the heads up. Okay, just got word that Marvin Muscan is injured and he's gonna miss the whole season, which means he's basically got to come out of the show. It's definitely a bummer for Marvin and KTM and all the sponsors. He's like a main key player in this season, and I was really hoping for him to do well this year. His segment was just starting. I'm just gonna can that for now and move on to the next one. So the amount of hours I've put in and still have to put in, it's pretty daunting. And mentally, it's definitely tough. Normally, you could get away from a project and come back refreshed, but I really don't have that option on this project. So at the end of each day, and I'll schedule time for it, is I get a workout in. I treat this whole entire project like a marathon. You don't want to burn out too quickly, so this helps me keep my mind fresh. I wish it was summer out. I would definitely be on my mountain bike, but this definitely gets the job done. And like I said, it's super important and a huge part of my editing process. All right, so we're done with that. And here's a fun fact for you. So this bike right here, this is Jason Anderson's old bike. I bought it from him in 2015. And I was supposed to get a jersey with the bike, but he never got me one. So Jason, if you're watching, hook me up, man. So we're another day closer to the deadline. I just got another version of the rough cut done. It's 6:47 a.m. and been at it a few hours. You can probably see a few more bags under my eyes. But rough cut number 3 is up, and if I scrub through to the end, you can see we're at 55.5 minutes. When we're all said and done, this should be 45 minutes on the dot. So we've got 10 minutes to cut, and we'll just have to go through it, watch it a few more times, and figure out what absolutely needs to stay and what needs to get cut. Try to get to that 45 mark hopefully really soon, and see if we can call this thing done within a few days. Coffee is key at this point. So this part of the process is fun because little by little, you start shaving away seconds here and there, and then once you get it down to 45 minutes, you know what's gonna stay in the show, so you don't waste any time on a part that might get cut. So I spent the last few days getting the show cut down. As of this morning, we were at 46 minutes, but if I update this here, we are now at 45 minutes. So this is a big moment, pretty excited. Still have to do the final color grade and audio mix, and the deadline is not getting any farther away. So we're almost there. All right, so we are basically right at the finish line now. Adding these graphics is pretty much the last thing I do. It's kind of the cherry on top. It's one of my favorite things about doing this. You can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. So here is segment 2, final timeline, segment 3, segment 4, segment 5, and then 6, So I'm gonna export all of these as ProRes and then bring them onto one more final timeline and export a broadcast version of the show. Each network has different specs. You don't wanna screw this part up, because if you do, you're gonna upload it, that's gonna take forever, and if it gets rejected, you're gonna have to redo everything. So everything's matching up the way it should be. I'm gonna go ahead and export this. It's gonna be a multi-channel MXF file, and when that's done, I'll upload it, hopefully get the okay from NBC, and call this thing done. All right, so the file just got done exporting. Looks like everything went smoothly. I will watch the entire show before I upload it, of course. Make sure it's good to go, and then hopefully in about 45 minutes, I'll be uploading to NBCSN and call it good. Well, it's December 23rd. It's starting to look a lot like Christmas outside my office here. And inside, I just got a nice gift from NBC. It says, "Hi Luke, the show has been processed and ready for air this Friday. Merry Christmas to me." Well, that's a wrap for this project. It was great to finally see it on TV. And if you guys want to watch it, I'll link it up in my description. It's on the Supercross Live YouTube channel. So from here, I'm gonna take a break for a few days, get away from the office. I do have a lot more projects coming up, so I will be doing more behind the scenes on those. If you guys like this, hit subscribe, comment your thoughts. We'll see you in the next one.